Hey guys, this is Ash and you're watching WriterGAsh. So this is my Caravalathon wrap up / my January wrap up. I absolutely loved Caravalathon. It was a magical experience and I got to read so many wonderful books. It motivated me to read books. If you don't know what Caravalathon is, well, check out the video I have in the card above. It is a readathon, basically, as the name suggests, that is designed similar to the Caraval, which is a book by Stephanie Garber. And it is a carnivalesque scavenger hunt. And in this Caraval, we had to find Neil Dalto. And we had prompts that we completed to get clues, which eventually led us to Neil. And I wanted to share my journey with you all and share a bit of journaling that I did. So this is my opening page for the Caravalathon on my journal. It says, "Welcome to Caraval." And then it's got the ticket, which has my name on it, that was created by the creator of this readathon. And then, this is a huge spread. Sorry. I've got a picture I found on the internet. It's a fan art. I've also got some of my Bookstagram photos. I've got another photo. And here we have Scarlett and Tella. They both have tickets. And one of theirs says, "Welcome to Caraval." The other one is the flip side that says, "Remember, it's just a game." And that's basically the motto of Caraval. So it was a fantastic game though. I've got some of the information from the ticket down here about the location, the time and date, and then the prize. One wish. Anyway, so how I have my whole spread set up is basically a scavenger hunt. We've got the map in the middle, and then you start here and it's got a map and it's asking you where Neil Dalto is. Ooh, this looks extremely crazy. So I went to each location, read the book that it asked me to read, and then if it gave me a clue, I noted the clue down, and if it had me go for a magic item, which you had to do something for, like pay a price, I did that and I got my magic item. The very first location I went to, it told me to pay the pipe donation, and I got the clue from that. I'm not gonna be holding up this whole thing, but I just wanted to talk about everything I did and where Neil Dalto was. And this is also kind of my wrap up because this is all the books I've read this month. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be talking about the prompts I completed, the books I read for the prompts, what I thought about the books, and then also I will be giving you guys I will be sharing what clue I got and what my thought process was in solving this readathon, because I want to document it for myself more than anything else. So the very first place I went to when I started Caravalathon was the Rose Carousel. And to complete this prompt, I had to read a book with a lot of plot twist, and I went with A Darker Shade of Magic because it is a great fantasy with great plot twist. If you have never heard of it, A Darker Shade of Magic is a fantasy which is set in London, but not our London, in an alternate realm, the Red London. London's basically like the eye of this world, and they have, what's it called? Like these different worlds where there's different levels of magic and humanity. And it's a very complex magic system. So there's our world, which is Grey London with no magic. There is Red London, which has a good balance of magic and humanity. They're in a symbiotic relationship. And then there is White London, where magic overpowers humanity. And then there was Black London, emphasis on was, where magic had taken over humanity. And it is just a traveler an Antari from Red London traveling to different Londons on command of his king and running into a thief, Delilah Bard. Whoop. A fantastic, epic character. I absolutely love Delilah Bard and absolutely love this book. The characters are charming, they're so well flushed out, and it's just a fantastic book. I probably gave it like a 4.5 stars. Once I finished this book, I looked for the after prompt. For this one, it says to pay the pipe organ donation, which isn't really a clue, but it is a clue to getting a magic item, which would tell me the clue. So I paid the donation by posting a photo on Instagram, and I got my very first clue. It says, remember to stay grounded on your journey. The ground remembers. Okay, at this point I have no idea what's going on. Next place I went to was the Hatter and Haberdashery. And then I read a book that had a ball or dance scene, which was A Gathering of Shadows, because I wanted to read the right one right after. I wasn't gonna break up a series. Anyway, I finished reading it. Also, I'm not gonna go into the plot of this one because it picks up where the last one leaves off. I don't want to spoil it. Again, great book, amazing plot, amazing characters. Gave it a 4.5-ish, 4.5 stars. I did not note down my star rating, so I'm not fully sure. Anyway, but the clue I got from this was I am covered in water but able to breathe. Still had no idea what's going on. I was like, okay, maybe I'll look at the clues at the end, which is what I ended up doing, but I'm gonna catch you guys up with the clues as we go. At any point you figure out where Neil Dalto is hidden, go down to the comment section and put it in there so I can see how much smarter you guys are than me, because I am really bad at riddles. It took me to the very last clue, and the very last clue as in like the clue that told me the answer. The next place I went to was La Serpentine de Cristal, and I read a book with the found family trope, and I read A Conjuring of Light for that. So it's not like I had to go in a certain order. I picked the books I was feeling, and the location came with that. I had assigned certain books for certain locations and certain other prompts, which is why I was able to read my series as one. Anyway, so for The Conjuring of Light, again, it's the third book in a series. How can I spoil it for you guys? Pick it up and read it. It's a great book. 4.5, maybe even 5 stars for this one, if I'm being honest. No, I don't think I gave any book this month 5 stars, so 4.5. Okay, the next one is I'm in plain sight, yet just out of view. And at this point, I'm like, it's got to be wet. It's underwater somewhere, but still able to breathe. And at this point, I hadn't thought about the fact that it might be Neil Dalto that was covered in water but able to breathe. Anyway, I then moved on to Emerald Green Tonic Tent, where I had to read a book while drinking my favorite beverage. Okay, water is my favorite drink. I can't go 10 minutes without water. I'm like, no, that's cheating. So I picked up wine. It's not my favorite, but I enjoy it, so wine has to do. And I was definitely cheating with this one because my solution to picking wine was having 1 glass of wine and not drinking for the rest of the night. Not drinking anything, including water. But I did it without drinking anything else while reading. Anyway, for this one I picked Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors. And this one told me to get minty spritz, which was a magical item. And to get that item, I had to send a random fun fact to the Caravalathon Instagram, which led me to my next clue. There is always mist, but never rain. I'm like, ooh, could it be a rain shower? And then I facepalmed myself because like it literally says never rain. Next, I went to the Jade Kissing Tent. Before we go to the Jade Kissing Tent, Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors. So Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors is about a doctor from an Indian American family who had immigrated to the US when she was really young, or was it her parents had immigrated before they were born? Something like that. I can't remember exactly what. But she's the black sheep of the family. The fucking neurosurgeon is the black sheep of the family. Because she did something to her brother's career, and that's more important than anything else. That's enough for her father to ostracize her forever. Fucking hate the dad. Like, absolutely loathe the father. The rest of her family, great. None of the others ever treated her like absolute shit because of anything she did when she was 17. Anyway, but the actual story follows her and a chef. And the chef is her cousin's best friend, and Trisha, the doctor, meets DJ, the chef, at a family event where he is catering, and makes a horrible impression upon him. And just, anyway, and it's an enemies to lovers, them misunderstanding each other, him completely mischaracterizing her because of, well, they're horrible, which is on her, horrible first meeting, and then him just hearing things from other people and then taking them as truth, basically. But it all works out. They're together at the end because it's a happily ever after contemporary romance. Which leads me to the Jade Kissing Tent, which required me to read a romance, with a book with romance in it. And I picked the second book in this series, Recipe for Romance, Recipe for Persuasion. My brain's not working. Anyway, so Recipe for Persuasion follows Ashna, Trisha's sister, cousin, and her high school sweetheart, who had become a soccer star and has retired because of an injury. But to save her family's cooking restaurant, she is entering a cooking show, and he is her partner. So they're in a Cooking with the Stars kind of situation, and it is just them finding their way back to each other, like getting rid of some of the misunderstandings that happened back when, causing them to drift apart, and just them like falling back in love. And it's a second chance romance, like I said. And these are Pride and Prejudice. So these are Jane Austen inspired modern contemporaries, and great fun, in my opinion. Anyway, the clue from that is, whoop, I have no plumbing, but I can take a shower. And at that point, I realized how much of a dumbass I was, because for most of this thing, I was absolutely certain that Neil Delta was in a shower even after reading that. How did I not remember that was a clue? I'm just realizing it now. This is a face of regret. Anyway, the next clue is the Glass Tavern. And the Glass Tavern has you read a book that has a bar, pub, or tavern scene. For this one, I went with Paris is Always a Good Idea. And so this story focuses on I can't remember character names ever, so like the female protagonist and the male protagonist here work at a cancer foundation. They make money to help people who are struggling with cancer. She went down this route because her mother died of cancer. And this happened right after she went on a year through Europe after college, just enjoying her life, and then and then she got a call about her mother getting cancer. She comes back, her mom dies within a year, and since then her life has been this like cycle of her working and working and working, and her family thinks she's lost all her joy. So she decides she's gonna go back to the last place she was happy, which was Europe. So she just travels through Europe. She goes to Ireland, she goes to Paris, she goes to Italy. And in these places, she meets up with all her old flames and just trying to recapture the joy she once felt. And in comes her coworker, who she hates. And they have a really good rapport. And it's a great story. Like, read it and find out what happened. And I 100% recommend it. Probably gave it a 4 stars. And then this gave me the clue that I am surrounded by walls, but one of them is see-through. And even then I did not know what it was. It freaking has mist. It has no plumbing, but you can take a shower. And it has walls all around, but you can see through them. I feel like I'm giving you guys the answer if I'm doing that. Talking about how dumb I am is just not a big surprise. Anyway, the next place I went to was the cider cart, and at the cider cart, I had to read a book with an animal on the cover or in the title, and I read the Shadi Setup. So this one follows a couple who had once dated in high school and early college and had a horrendous breakup, and now have to work together because their meddling mothers are making them, and they're working on, well, he's a realtor and she creates like beautiful furniture pieces, she refurbishes things, so she is helping him stage a house, and that turns into them flipping a house together and finding their way back to each other. Again, it's a second chance romance, fantastic book, 4 out of 5 stars, great fun. Okay, the clue for this one was to get myself some burnt sugar cider. So I got myself some burnt sugar cider by playing 2 truths and a lie. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you might have seen that. And the clue was, even without glass, I shall never thirst. Even without a glass, I shall never thirst. So there's plenty of water. It's saying that again. The next, I was like, okay, I really don't want to read a mythology right now. Like a book with mythology right now, which was the prompt for dress, which will come up, dress shop. So I was like, oh, there is a character I can use, because there were also character prompts who would replace any location prompt I want. So I went to Joanne, and I had to read a book with a colorful cover. At first I was going to read The Layover. If you had seen my TBR, you would have seen that. But then I decided maybe that's not the best idea when I have an arc to finish before the end of January and I have a packed month for January. So I decided, okay, let us read Lease on Love. It's not as like bright colorful, but there's more pastels, there's beautiful, gorgeous, colorful flowers. So it still hits them, it still checks the boxes. And then it says you can take a clue from any location. So I went on to Dress Shop, which I replaced with the Jovan card. And it says to pay the price for the gorgeous champagne colored gown. And this was where I had to read a book inspired by mythology. I was initially going to read lore, but it's a long book and I wasn't in the mood. So I went and got myself a champagne colored gown. And for that I had to just post a picture with a book I love or books I love and tag some accounts I love. And then the clue was, listen to the rushing water from the canal. I hear the same sound, but from a different source. So there's rushing water. There are walls all around you, but you can see through one of them. There is ground, and there is mist, but no rain. Next place was the Fountain of Despair. I had to read a book when it is dark outside. Okay, I think I fast forwarded a little too much. Back to Jovan and Lease on Love. It was an arc. I really enjoyed it, probably only gave it a 3-star because there were some unrealistic things about this. I just kept thinking, this is just cliche, cliche, cliche. That doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. I enjoy cliches, but it wasn't the best book. It wasn't even the best arc I've read this year, but it was okay. It was a fun read. I breezed through it, and it had some really nice characters, but they weren't exceptional. And I was reading this right after the Shadi setup where I absolutely fell in love with the characters, so it was falling a little flat for me. Now, fast forwarding to past getting myself the champagne colored gown. By the way, I decided to dress up for Caravalathon. You can't see any of it, but I'm in a freaking ball gown right now. Okay, so Fountain of Despair is next. and I had to read a book only when it's dark outside. I picked The Boyfriend Project for that because you can literally read anything. And this is the first book in a series I read. I read the second book as an arc before, and this is the first book, and I absolutely love the characters because I'd seen them in the other book, and it was just great. So our main character works at a tech company, and she's also working on developing an app. Our male protagonist comes to join the company, and they meet, and it's a office romance, but he's hiding something, and also they left off the biggest kicker from in the very beginning of the book. Our main character finds out from her sister that some girl is live tweeting a date. Turns out the date is her boyfriend. So she shows up to confront him, and the three women become friends, and they become such wonderful support systems for each other. I love a good friendship. Anyway, so this book gave me the clue that you're already halfway there. I guess it's just like one of those motivating clues or something. The next place was Castillo Maldito. To read a book set in a different time, and I picked The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. So I bought this book back in June. I've had this on my TBR since like the year it came out, and it fell flat. 3 stars. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. I just didn't connect with the characters. I don't like things set in a different time, and yeah, the characters themselves, like, kind of, I don't know if I like them or don't. Like, there'd be times I'm like, oh, they're so cute together, or like, God, the guy's conceited. But anyway, this is a gay romance in the 1800s. I think it's either 17 or 1800, and that was the highlight of this book. Because I also think I also know that the secondary character, the main character's little sister, is Ace, which is absolutely, like, it's so rare to get representation for the LGBT community. That alone, like, boosted this book up a little bit. I didn't enjoy it. I was dreading reading it, and I hate to say that, but I was. Anyway, moving on. The next thing I did was I wanted to get all the stamps, so I read a book for another character, even though I didn't need it because I was 2 books away from finishing. But I went and met Aiko, and Aiko needed me to read a book with a BIPOC main character or author, and I picked Incense and Sensibility, which is the last book that's out in the WriterGAsh series, like the Pride and Prejudice one, Incense, you know the one I'm talking about, the ones I talked about. And this was like similar to the previous books. This is about their older brother, and he has been in a fake relationship with his girlfriend for 10 years, and he meets the only person he's ever had feelings for again, and he's going through some really crazy shit as he's running for governor of California, and she's a wellness coach, so she helps him through all of it, and they kind of rekindle their relationship. And yeah, we find out a lot more about his past that had been alluded to in the other books, and learn more about his crazy relationship, his 10-year-long fake relationship. So Aiko tells me to go to the dress shop, which I've already fulfilled with Joanne. Anyway, so the next place I went to was the Covered Bridge, and the Covered Bridge involves reading a book set in or by a body of water. And I read It Happened One Summer. This book blew up on TikTok. And when I was talking about my TBR, I totally misspoke. And I said I was going to read Hook, Line, and Sinker, which is not even out yet. For some reason, I kept confusing those two. The Hook, Line, and Sinker is the second book in the series, which I'm excited to read now. But this book is about Piper Bellinger or something like that. And she is basically kicked out of LA by her stepfather after she fucking blows up. And she's an influencer, and she's just starting to realize that there's more to life than this like fake persona she puts out. and she moves to her mom's hometown, or the town she was born in, and goes to help rebuild her father's bar. There she meets a fisherman, and they have a little bit of a kind of like a slight enemies to lovers arc, like a few chapters enemies, so not really a true enemies to lover in my opinion. But anyway, it was a fun book, so not arguing there. The clue I got here was, you're currently on top of things, but sometimes to win you need to get behind, you need to be behind. This is the only clue I used in the final answer. The next place I went to was the russet colored tent, which had me read a book with character that had tattoos or markings, and for this one I picked One Last Stop. So fun fact, I was reading One Last Stop as a physical book, which meant I couldn't read it at work, so I was co-reading it with my last book, which was for Julian, and then I had nothing to do at work one day, and I almost finished the Julian book, the last character book. So I stayed on, so the book had 50 chapters, so I stayed on chapter 49. I finished chapter 49 and stopped reading, even though chapter 50 was literally 3 pages long. So I could finish reading One Last Stop, which I enjoyed. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. I did struggle with it somewhat. I really do enjoy Red, White, and Royal Blue more, because the characters were more likable. I think I loved the side characters in this book, but the idea of someone from the 21st century dating someone from the 70s with them having nothing really, like they have nothing in common. It's like because this character would have been 70-ish in present day if she would like aged, and it would literally be like someone who is 20 dating someone who's 70, which I find a little ick. And it's not like this person has seen everything that's happened. They have nothing in common. Like their frame of references are different. This person has only got references for things back in the 70s when this person wasn't even alive, and that's the weirdest part. But and also the whole relationship takes place in a train. I think if this whole romance had taken place outside of that slightly weird, like, is it paranormal? Is it not? What is it setting? I would have enjoyed it a lot more. Anyway, I got the prompt that I have a pool, but not a yard. And then finally, I thought, I still think it's a shower, because I have no idea what all the clues are, because my head's not connecting anything. I decided to go to Julian, who would give you a bit more of an idea, like help you find the answer if you don't know what it is at the end. And for this, I had to read a book with characters who had scars. I picked Code of Conduct, which features an amputee and a security company worker. So she basically is a PI, and she helps women find their, find out if their husbands are cheating, and then to get 50% of their, their fair share of money if their husband cheats. So she goes on a date with this guy at the beginning of the book, and she is playing him because he's the cheating husband. And she takes his phone, wires $500,000 to the wife's account from his phone while he's bragging about his security company. And yeah, she then becomes the target initially, because the guy has the security company go after her, find out who took his money. But turns out the guy's into some shady shit, so she works with the security company to find out what the fuck is going on. And it's like an average contemporary. I gave it a 3 maybe stars, 3.5. But it was a very quick read, a really, really quick read. Anyway, so this one gave me literally, it was like, how dumb could you be that you don't know what the answer is, basically, is what this clue said. So obviously there is plenty of water, because it says you will never be thirsty. 2. It sounds like it's falling, but there's also a see-through wall. It sounds like it's falling. And then he's covered in water. He's covered by the water. He can take a shower and all of those other clues. And then finally, the ground is rocky and damp. The answer was a waterfall. And then the only clue I remembered was that sometimes you need to be behind. And the answer is behind a waterfall. And I got a little stamp for it and everything. And yeah, it was a fantastic readathon. And this is the most long-winded wrap you'll ever probably get. All right, so we have another retroactively filmed video while I'm completely disheveled. I completely forgot that after I finished Finding Neil Dalto, I decided to continue playing as an observer for like one book, and I read By Any Other Name by Lauren Kate, I think. And it was a great book. It's an arc I got. It is about a publisher who is working with her favorite author, and then she finds out that her favorite author has been lying to her. Her favorite author isn't Noah Calloway. He is Noah Ross. And she has to work with him now and help him write his next book so she can save her job. And it's just their story. It's a pretty fun book. I liked it. I gave it a 4 stars, enjoyed it. And this I completed for the Elixir of Protection, and the prompt was to read a book that you've been dreading reading. And I kind of was dreading reading it because I'm always dreading arcs, because what if I don't like it? I would hate to tell an author who gave me a book for free that I don't like their book. I'm so glad I did like it, and yeah, turns out it was a great book, and my fears were completely unfounded. Anyway, and there's no clue associated with this, obviously, because it is an observer prompt, but it was fun, just like continuing to read. But I had a blast. And if you guys wanted to participate, you should definitely do that next year, because this is the best readathon I've ever taken part in, and I love readathons. Again, all of the information about the readathons Instagram is tagged below. Take a look, because you could participate next year. You all have a good day. Let's see you later. Ta-ta.